This, ladies and gentlemen, is unmistakably Hyundai's 2023 Staria. You can't miss it for anything else on the road because it looks just so darn unique. We have a walk around of the Premium Plus variant that's available in the link somewhere down below. Today, however, we have the GLS Plus. This one has got 11 seats in it. And on today's episode of Behind the Wheel, we want to try and figure out if the premium side of it really does go hand in hand with the practical side of it. Oh, look at me. I'm like a good little boy. I got the height for it. It's not really something to be proud about. Are you a small business owner and orders are coming in faster than you can handle and you need help with readily available access to capital?
Really?
Look, this is a good problem and Asialink has a solution for you with their Sangla ORCR loan program, which is basically remortgaging your car. Loans processed within a day with low interest rates of 1.25 to 1.5%, which is lower than many standard business loans. No, it's not like a pawning service. This is a great option for quick emergency funds or working capital for your business, whilst keeping your vehicle and operations running. Refinancing your vehicle or vehicles to free up capital to help you through business pain points and ultimately fuel growth. Asialink is much quicker than if you were applying for a business loan, one of the lowest personal loans you can get, and you get to keep your vehicle. You can even get up to 75% of the fair market value. That's a lot of scratch! Oh, wait. Onitsukas. Business expense. Pwede. Over the past 26 years, the Philippines has seen Asialink provide loans to thousands of Filipinos with over 100 branches nationwide. Kasama mo ang Asialink.
No? Yeah, I didn't think so.
Okay, so first order of business, the power plant. This is a 4-cylinder, 2.2-liter turbo diesel engine that produces 174 horses and 430 Newton-meters of torque, mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now, that torque figure of 430 is really close to those pickup trucks that you see out there that are very, very powerful. So with that amount of torque, you know that carrying even a football team inside the automobile won't be an issue, right? Now, there are differences on the exterior from the GLS Plus to the Premium Plus. For starters, the bumper. It's body color on the GLS Plus. The lights are still similar, the DRLs, the beautiful DRLs, and then the lights found down below. But essentially, you're devoid of a lot of the chrome, or rather a lot of the copper or bronze, as the color it is, that you will find all over the automobile, whether it's up front or on the side mirrors and whatnot. From that particular angle that you're looking at it, I like the way that the car looks, but it's so futuristic to me. Paired with this grill up front, it kind of reminds me of like an air fryer, my wife's air fryer. Like I can pull this drawer out and then I'd find nuggets and hash browns and pork chop in there. No, not all at the same time. You catch my drift. It's just, I love my air fryer. It's beautiful, man. I want to hug it. Continuing down the side, you've got 17s wrapped in 65 series tires, a healthy amount of ground clearance at about 180, 185 millimeters. Broad, very, very broad side. And then you'll notice here on the outside, you'll already notice that the windows are huge. And I mean really, really massive. Like this could be the world's biggest aquarium with the amount of glass that they have in there. If Dory and Marlin were in there, they'd never find Nemo. That's how big this thing is. Just look at it. Oh, and mind you, there isn't just a door on one side of the automobile. The doors are available on both sides of the automobile, which I quite love. Don't like it, I love it. Which then brings us to the rear. Now, they've done away with the pixelated Tetris-looking rear lights, which look good, but these, they do a good job about emulating that, and it still looks great at night. Very unique still. The rear glass, massive, much like the windows on the side. I mean, it's so large that even this wiper, which is already so big, it's like not nearly enough to take on the entire glass. It's like that's me and the glass is Jack. Now, the Staria has 4 rows, but even with the 4th row in play, it's got enough space for a cooler. Not a very big cooler, but a cooler nonetheless. I mean, it does still work. But anyway, yes, obviously, there's not going to be a lot of space with the 4th row in play. But once you fold that and the other seats in there, we've only got 3 balikbayan boxes with us. But the amount of space, you can just imagine, it just goes on and on and on and on. Really quite large. Now, to put it into perspective against other vans out there, the size of this automobile is roughly the same as that of the Super Grandia. It's got the same width, it's got the same length, possibly even the same height. The difference is that the Super Grandia is longer by about 47 millimeters, probably because of the overhangs. But the wheelbase of this automobile is actually a bit longer, which translates to possibly even more space inside. Now, in the 4th row, very, very comfortable as you would expect in a van. Capable of 3 medium to even large size adults. The center seat where I am right now, you'd find it as somewhat as comfortable as you would the middle seat of a sedan in terms of the bump in the middle. It's kind of, okay, it's not very cumbersome, but if you're, let's say for example, battling a very slight case of almoranas, but anyway, then it might be an issue. But other than that, really, no problems whatsoever, even more so comfortable when you move to the side. You do have toys back here in the sense that you have 2 air vents dedicated for the 4th row. You have bottle holders on either side, not very large ones, but bottle holders nonetheless. A small little cubby hole, and not 1, but 2. 1 on the left and 1 on the right, charging points for all your devices. You can also, with the lever down here, slide the seat because it is on rails to try and minimize and or maximize the amount of room that you have, depending on how much luggage you have behind the 4th row. Even at its back most right now, we still have that space for that tiny little cooler back there. And then to get yourself into a bit more comfortable position, this lever right here, you can pull it and then recline your chair ever so much more slightly. That's nice. It's comfortable. And the seats, by the way, are not like just a bench seat that nobody ever cares about, like throws you off to the Phantom Menace and whatnot. No, no, no. They took care of you back here because the cushions are actually still pretty soft. I like that. No one's forgotten. So practicality and premium still going on very strong for the 4th row. Let's try the 3rd row. Now, the 3rd row. Oddly enough, I would argue that the 3rd row in this car is actually the most comfortable because you have captain's chairs. In other automobiles, you'll notice that the captain's chairs are actually right behind the driver and the front passenger. Not in this case, it's actually on the 2nd row for very specific reasons. Number 1 is so that it allows access into the 4th row very, very easily. Number 2 is because that it's on rails, you can actually maximize the premiumness and make it into very practicality-ness when you're in the 2nd row. In the sense that if the 1st row is sitting there very, very comfortably, and the 2nd row here is, let's say, for example, being used by more larger executives that want to stretch out as best that they can, you can even maximize that by doing this. Check this out. See, this seat right here actually folds. Hang on, let me figure this out. I know that it does. Give me 2 seconds. You fold the 4th row as such, and then the 3rd row, since it's on rails, yet again, you can back it up like there's no tomorrow, lock it in place, and look at this. This is more room than I'm so short I can't even reach the 2nd row. This is more room than a 1st class seat. Not that I've ever been in 1st class, but look at this. Even Jack would fit back here. Will you fit back here? This ain't no vacation, man. Get back up there. This guy. So much like the tail lights, the nice thing about this automobile too is that you can configure all of these seats like Tetris, and you can do it, well, if you're a person like myself, you can do it inside the confines of the automobile with the air conditioning running so you don't break that big of a sweat. I love it. So you've got premium and practicality in the 3rd row. What about the 2nd row? In the 4, 3, second row, there's just so many rows inside this automobile. I would argue that this second row is actually the second best place to be inside this automobile, because I would say that the third row with the captain's chairs would obviously be the best with the amount of space that you can get. Although I will say that the comfort level back here is probably more comfortable than that of the fourth row, because there isn't such a large hump in the center. It feels like it can accommodate much larger passengers. Children and senior citizens won't have a hard time getting in and out of the automobile, sliding left to right. And then there's the fact that we talked about the amount of windows that you have when we were outside the automobile, and inside the automobile it's the same, because I've never seen a car with just so much light coming in. The premium and practicality side that comes in is that there are window shades also available, not just for the second row, but for the third row and the fourth row as well, because there are window shades back there too. And then charging points for the second row, you have them here up front, but then there is also charging points, I forgot to mention, for the third row by the C-pillar, which is it's right back here and right back here. So overall, it is a premium and yet practical area or space back here for the passengers that they're going to be in. And I do believe, honestly, that they would actually be comfortable. I mean, just look at the amount of space that I have. That's almost 2 dangkals, and crossing my legs is no issue whatsoever. My goodness, this is bigger than my first apartment with Lisa. Look at the size of this thing. So we've talked about what it is going to be like a passenger. Let's talk about what it is going to be as a driver. Up front, the seating position inside the Staria is actually very, very comfortable. It doesn't feel like you're driving a bus at all. None of this steering wheel that's like flat. No, it feels like the other products that are available from Hyundai, much like the systems that you find inside. For instance, you have a touchscreen that doubles as your reverse camera. It's got Apple CarPlay and wireless Android. Oh, not just a reverse camera, but it has a 360-degree view of the car. Up front, you have an all-digital affair with your analog and with your speedometer and tachometer, which actually is pretty cool. When you indicate to the right or to the left, the little circles turn out to be the cameras that activate, which are available on the side view mirrors. Actually, I find that pretty cool. Getting into the proper comfortable driving position is easy, although the seats are manual. That's forgivable, but getting into a proper driving position is not an issue at all. The seats are very soft, and then there's the fact that the windows and the windshield are so big that it feels like really you have an unimpeded view of 180 degrees. I mean, look at the size of these windows. Check this out. This window, the windows on this automobile are so big that if I were to put down this window right now, look at the size of it. It doesn't even fall flat down. Look at it. It's like the window doesn't have any more space to go. Actually, that's pretty wild. There is also a lot of cargo space, as we mentioned, of the automobile, but to continue with that motif, there's also a lot of cargo spaces that you can find here up front. You've got compartments here on the dashboard, not one but two. Well, why not, right? It's even got a bottle holder right here beside the instrument cluster, although it's not the safest of them all because it kind of wiggles, but still, there is one there. And then the door card, it's not 1, 2, or 3, it's actually 4 tiers. You can just pile on stuff in there like there's no tomorrow. Even a door card that's big enough to fit even Jack's bottle, which coincidentally matches my shoe today. Very nice, I think. Some of the tech advantages inside this car is that you will definitely use the cruise control, which is available inside the vehicle, which is when you take your family out on long drives, as you will want to inside this car. That's very, very helpful. And then there's also wireless charging, which, you know, you kind of just get it at premium automobiles. This, again, is a premium with practicality. So yeah, why not a wireless charger? Now on to the driving aspect of the automobile. First, I'd like to mention that unlike other vans that you see on the road, it's not a snub-nosed vehicle. So you don't feel as if you're a first-time driver, like you're about to hit everything on the road because you're just so close to everything out there. No, there's still the engine bay in front. So it does feel like you're driving just your average automobile. That's one. Second, moving on to the turbo diesel, it's, as I mentioned earlier, it's got 430 newton meters of torque. It's a 2.2 liter, so it does have a lot of grunt, a lot of torque, very down low at the rev range. So whether you're just two people inside the automobile or you've got a full complement of people, it definitely has more than enough grunt to move those passengers along very, very smoothly. In the city, which I actually enjoyed not driving but riding as Jack was puttering me along and I was telling him, Cornolio, drive faster, or whatever his name is at that point, we were able to get roughly about 8 kilometers per liter inside the city. Now this is during heavy Makati-EDSA traffic. When we took it out on the highway a bit better, we were doing about 13.5 kilometers per liter. I will, however, add that this 13.5 kilometers per liter was just with 2 people inside the automobile. That obviously will change depending on how long of a highway you're going to be on and how many people are obviously inside the automobile. And it also depends on the person driving this car. However, I will say all in all, that's not so bad considering just exactly how large this vehicle is. Speaking of which, as a driver of very under tall height, I am not having a very hard time driving this automobile, even though I know it's a very long in the back. Now, you might argue that I have driven a lot of automobiles and I'm used to driving a lot of different size automobiles, but I try to go into each review by saying that this is going to be obviously the first car I'm ever going to drive and see what it feels like. And as just a driver inside the car for the very first time, I didn't find it very daunting at all. Whether it was parking in tight spaces or crawling along the traffic on EDSA or any other thoroughfare in Metro Manila, actually, it's actually quite pleasant to drive and really smooth. Now, yes, the size of it will get you, but then when it comes to tighter areas, you can turn on the camera, especially when you're going in reverse, to make sure that you park the car very safely. Now, overall, the ride comfort is very, very superb, I must say. The suspension takes bumps on very, very easily. It shelters you from the roughness of the road, the imperfections that you feel. There are some slight vibrations that you will feel inside the automobile when you're driving a little spiritedly, which I don't know why you would in a van. And the seats, yes, I will admit, there is a little bit of a rattle, especially when there's no one inside the automobile. But in a full complement, yeah, it's quiet, it's calm, it's not fatiguing, whether you're a passenger or a driver on the highway or in traffic. Oh, and I must also add that regardless of how large the cabin is, because there's so much good material inside the automobile, there's barely, and I do mean barely, an echo in here, especially now that, rather not especially, but now that it's just Jack and I. With more passengers inside the automobile, yeah, it's probably very good sound deadening. Like you could put a studio back there. I will, however, add that it's not the noise inside the car that may play an issue, it's the noises outside. The wind noise will not bother you, no. But the trade-off, because of these very beautiful large windows, is that you will be able to hear the noises from outside of the automobile. So like trucks and motorcycles that have no proper mufflers, the very loud air horns of trucks and buses, yeah, that can come in. But apart from those shrieking noises, it's actually pretty comfortable. And really, if you think about it, what automobile wouldn't have those noises anyway? Now, as a perpetual driver myself, I've made no secret that I do love to drive my family around. This is why I like larger vehicles. And inside this automobile is none the same. But what I'm trying to get to that is whether you're a driver or a passenger in this car, you won't feel shortchanged. Yes, it's a van, and obviously where you want to be is not here. You want to be sitting in the back, and I get that. But what I'm trying to get to is that if you are relegated to drive this automobile for your family, it's not as if you got the short end of the stick, that it's more comfortable back there. No. The nice thing about this GLS Plus is that the comfort is very, very evenly spread out. It truly is. At the risk of sounding like yet another broken record, I do believe that the 2023 Staria GLS Plus is a very good marriage between practicality and premium. They've done a great job. The practicality side is the amount of space that you have inside, not just for passengers, but for cargo as well. But then when you go back to passengers, you've got so much headroom and legroom, boatloads of it. The premium side, it's got an absolutely great ride. The seats are wonderful. The tech inside is darn good. That premium, however, does come with a little bit of a price tag. The 2023 Staria GLS Plus comes in at 2,320,000 Philippine pesos. Before you lose it, hear me out. Number one, it's a big price for a lot of car. It's a very big automobile, you know that. Number two is that that price tag is roundabout the same that other car companies command for roughly the same product. It's just that in this case, the Staria, even in its GLS form, GLS Plus form, executes it just a little bit better. Head on over to AutoDeal.com.ph, try the Get Quote button. It's absolutely free, where it can bring you that much closer to your next car faster than you can say shooting star. Yeah.
You messed up the line. It was corny, and you still managed to mess up the line.
Man.